were under the very clear impression that it had been worked out in principle. We had set up committees, we had had retreats about it, and yesterday his response was literally that, nothing yet. Was on board.
Right.
And this was stunning.
If I might, I just looked back today. I've got a 30-page draft that we worked on for a PhD degree program.
Look at some of the practical implications too. It's not simply about autonomy, that is important. We're not into psycho, we talk about very practical issues. The state of the Africana studies curriculum. We have some lines to fill. They're going to be moved over. And the dean can now reallocate, not a director with our consulting, but the dean can now reallocate and give up those lines to other departments. They're talking about the fact that, more joint departments. The fact too that one of our strengths is that we are not simply multidisciplinary, but transdisciplinary. That is a great strength here. We inhabit fields with people from all different. It's just an intellectual insight to it. But drawing on that, not to say, you must have more joint departments. We could be mainstream people, full-time, could be outnumbered. If you go to that route, the integrity of the program is gone. So beyond the methodology behind it, behind the deceit behind it, are some very practical implications for the future of Africana studies. And this is something we have to keep in mind.
I'd like if Danielle might say something about, and I didn't prepare you for this beforehand, but it's something that you raised yesterday, the question, why now? Can you talk a little bit about that?
I asked in the press, or it wasn't a discussion, it was a conversation, if you want to call it that, with the provost. I was pretty insistent about this, wondering why in the 41-year history you choose this particular moment to make this change. What was the impetus? And he kept saying, we're going to bring more resources, we're going to grow it. You used that word grow. And I thought that was really interesting. So why didn't you want to grow it last semester? Why didn't you want to grow it a year ago? He was able to be here 2 years, I think. So why not when you first got, you're like, oh, Africana is my #1 priority. Let's figure out ways to grow it. Let me go find that money now. He didn't do that. And he couldn't answer why he didn't do that. He just kept, he spoke in circles a lot. Turned red, you could tell he was nervous, But he couldn't answer the question, and he didn't answer the question. Pretty smart person. So if I ask you a direct question, and instead of answering that direct question, you go all around and say everything but the answer to that question, I'm going to come to the conclusion that you have an answer that you don't want to give me, So, I have to believe that, whatever his intention is, it isn't growing the Africana program, because it doesn't make sense. His actions don't line up with that. 41 years to make Africana a top priority, and it hasn't been done. Hasn't been done. You hear, you can hear how people talk about Africana outside of Africana. There's a tension, and sometimes we talk about it, and sometimes we sweep it under the rug, And this is with faculty, We're not talking about just students, we're talking about faculty as well, we're talking about staff people, So, if there's all this love and there's all this, there's warmth, at the College of Arts and Science, and they're just overjoyed to have us coming, and then, they're going to roll out the carpet. Where are they? Are there people from the Arts and Science College here? Okay, we got some people back here. All right, this is the high-level leadership who knows how to find the money that is waiting for us, right? This is the point that I was just bringing out to him, that it's inconsistent, and I think it's insulting, for me as well, when you think that I don't understand what you're saying to me when you're saying it quite clearly.
Did you have anything with that?
Well, I kind of wanted to talk about the joint appointmentship idea, because I'm in city and regional planning, and last year, 2 professors who had joint appointmentships in ethnic studies program, in Latino studies program, and in the Asian American studies program, they were not voted. They were at their mid-career review, and they were not kept. So that doesn't set a good precedence for how you keep your people of color in your departments. And I think you understand what I'm talking about.
Melissa, given that you wrote the, if she maybe has a comment.
Well, I wanted to jump on what Professor Edmondson and Tia were saying, because I find the email that talks about how there's going to just be this welcome rub of all these faculty in different departments who are now going to decide the fate and the curriculum of the PhD program in Africana Studies. I like to see their qualifications and publications and language abilities in African languages or dialects that come from the Caribbean and other Black communities. Because it seems like the university is basically saying that we don't really do real work because anyone with a PhD can just do Africana studies. And I find that quite insulting. And I also kind of feel that this school just doesn't want Black students to do well in school. That's why they dropped this the last week of classes, because now Black students have to make a choice between, am I going to write a great paper, or am I going to come to a forum and fight for my dignity and self-respect? And I think that's quite disgusting from an institution that claims to be for students.
Okay. I'll be right
I just, that seems really loud. I just wanted to kind of chime in on the why now thing. I came to Cornell in 2003 to start a graduate program in Africana Studies. I finished in 2005, and I've been in the history department ever since, trying to finish. But the why now is very strategic. And as a student who's been here for almost 8 years, it's very strategic that it comes around every 5 years. In the academic year 2004 and 2005, I can't remember what it was called because, of course, I just found out about all this right now or earlier today, so I didn't have time to go back through all my records and my time here to figure out what exactly was the attack back then. But I remember specifically that Africana graduate students wrote a very compelling letter to Biddy Martin, who was the provost at that time, basically protesting what was leaked as an attempt to do exactly what they're doing now. And alumni contacted us. We didn't know what was going on, and let us know that 3 or 4 years before that, they did the same thing. So if you think about it, you have graduate students here, 2 generations, no memory of this. You have, even if a student was a 5th-year student back when that happened 5 years ago, no longer here. They're attempting to do it specifically at a time when there's no memory from the student body. The faculty has a memory, but to students it just seems like, well, is this really something that happens all the time? Yes. This is the 2nd time in 8 years that this has happened. And the first time, I think it would have probably gone a little bit more like this, except the information was leaked. And students from the Native American Student Alliance, the Asian American Student Department, we all kind of spoke out against it. And now they're doing it in a way where they don't even give students an opportunity to voice our discontent before they make this decision. And it's appalling. Yeah, that's all I have to say, but it's strategic. It's not just strategic that it's happening at the end of the semester. And I will go back through my records and look at every single time I've had to write a letter to Biddy Martin, because it happened at least 2 times when I was in Africana, defending Africana's position. I came from an ethnic studies department. I went to UC San Diego. I didn't know anything about the Black experience when I came to the Africana Center. That's what subsuming a program will do.
I felt in reading that email, it was an attack on our intelligence. It sugar-coated by saying, oh, and you'll also get the PhD, as if we weren't aware that this was actually happening anyway. This was going on, and to have this discussion about Africana Center, and it's a discussion without us involved, it means that we are not of concern. You do not invite someone who has no concern for for an issue, if you're